Good evening and welcome to the Gunners Town pub for this celebratory discussion of probably one of the best North London derbies in the last couple of weeks, definitely.
Yes.
And I'm joined tonight by Merv. Merv, nice to see you. What are you drinking?
Nice to see you too. It's the Emirates experience for me, and it's Camden Hells.
Brilliant. And with us all the way from Cape Town, with an unknown, it's his girlfriend. What's her name, Olaf?
His name is Dusty.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Dusty,
I shouldn't have made assumptions. Anyway, we've got Olaf here. Olaf, what are you drinking?
I was drinking coffee until we won, and then I decided I'd be a bit silly sitting in the pub drinking coffee. So I'm now having a pineapple daiquiri out of a bottle.
Well, I'm drinking another Goldfish. This is my third Goldfish bowl full of gin, which is a severe gin and tonic Tanqueray with tonic, and it's delicious. And it tastes all the sweeter because of that result, which we did everything we could in our power to not make happen.
Yes.
Yeah, towards the end, we tried to negate it quite actively.
Yep, we did. We sure did. I'm going to try a different format for tonight. So what I'd like to do is, in the kind of pub tradition, but obviously we're on camera, and we can't talk over each other like you can in a pub. But I'd like to just start with like a minute, your hot take on that game, each of you. So Merv, you want to start? Just your hot take and overview. How do you think you?
My hot take, I was concerned at the beginning when I saw the team and there was all the stuff about Aubameyang being disciplined. And I thought it's the last thing we need. Although I felt that bringing Lacazette in to maybe hold the ball up was a good idea if they were going to play Smith Rowe and Ødegaard, nobody running through. But I thought it was good. My hot take is we seem to do everything but score. And then I hate to say we gifted them the chance, because obviously it was an exceptional finish. But I mean, it's kind of we seem to just invite them onto us when they didn't seem to be in the game. And then I felt we turned it round. We were some of the play with Ødegaard, with Smith Rowe, Tierney out on the left was fine. They obviously targeted Saka. I thought it was right to bring on Pepe. And with the penalty, I thought we can sit back, down to 10 men, 3-1, and who knew? Who knew that I was going to be no nails left by the 93rd minute? And then the 94th minute, Kane gets another free kick on the edge of the box. But never mind. It was there in the end. It was kind of the one you want to be there because you love the tension when you're there within the stadium, but not at home.
Not at home. Olaf, your hot take, you're just more of a summary. We'll go into details in a bit, but just your general impression.
Hot take, when I saw the team sheets, I thought it was acceptable. I didn't quite question at the point why Aubameyang wasn't there. Only read a couple of minutes later about the discipline issue. In previous North London derbies, Lacazette's always been very good against Tottenham. So I almost thought it was for me, it felt like a natural selection, and maybe Aubameyang was going to get a bit of a rest. And then I also was reasonably impressed with the Ødegaard with Smith Rowe together, for example, and Saka. So I thought that was great. I think we controlled the game. I don't think, and they were really as up to it as they could have been. I mean, because they had a formidable front row. Their front line was incredibly strong on paper, with the likes of Moura and Bale and whatever. However, the hot take for me is that I'm glad we won. It was absolutely nerve-wracking towards the end. But I guess, the way we were always after the second, we always won the second ball, and then there was the period that we didn't. I think we controlled the game pretty well. But as always, we do make it slightly hard for ourselves. But I think that ultimately the difference, I think, was Smith Rowe and Ødegaard did very, very well for us. And I think all round, I can think between the manager and the team, I think it was a good performance, and they deserved the 3 points. And we deserve to say that North London is red.
We absolutely do. I saw it was an interview with Mourinho. I think it was the pre-presser from yesterday, and somebody asked him about the North London derby, and he said, we don't look down the table. I only look up the table. I only look at the people above us. And Arsenal's what 7 points, is it? As if he didn't know, like 7 points behind. So like, why would I even bother? For us, it's just another game. And I just so desperately wanted Arteta to, to get this one and not be the first manager to lose his first 3 North London derbies, which apparently is, what could have happened. So it was really cool. It was really cool to see us grind out that result because let's face it, we ground it out. We did. It seemed like everything that we could to shoot ourselves in the foot, but they ran out of time to witness that, and I'm very grateful for it. So, what was the highlight of the match for you, Merv? Was there a particular highlight?
I mean, in terms of kind of, I suppose, incidents, I think the move for the first goal overall, I was excited, and leading up to the penalty. But I think the highlight for me overall was the consistent, Tierney, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, the way we were taking the ball to them, the patterns they were making down the left-hand side in particular, and then Pepe when he came on. I just felt that when we were in the ascendancy, we were using the width very well. Yeah, Tierney is brilliant. Smith Rowe is brilliant. Odegaard's brilliant. Saka's brilliant. We've got some great young players there. And so for me, the highlight was how those 4 played. And
Olaf?
My highlight was Eric Lamela getting sent off.
I called that in the 25th minute of the first half. I called that. I was like, Lamela red card incoming.
Every time
you could just see it.
Yeah, every time I watch him play for Spurs, I dislike the man intensely.
He's a spunty little vampire.
I know. I saw you tweet that. I just said he was a thug, and not in a good way. Not like a thug life kind of joke thing. But he's an absolute thug, and I think that's why the likes of a Mourinho kind of send him on when they do, because he just kind of breaks everything up. And But anyway, the highlight for me was he got what he deserved, which was he was doing a heck of a lot of fouling up until that point. He got his yellow. His yellow card should have been a red out of straight away anyway, with studs up. So absolutely. So that was the highlight. And while I'm mentioning it, I'm immensely surprised that there wasn't a red card given to Harry Kane again. Bloody cheat.
For that
late thing
shove on Gabriel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The highlight was our win. Okay.
Oh yeah, that was a great highlight. But Lamela's red card was a highlight, and I mean, nobody wants to see players get injured. But when I saw Son and basically the first, movement that he had when they were chasing up to press Leno, and I just saw him pull up, and I was like, that's that's a relief, because he's been a bit of a niggle for us, niggle, I said, So the Lamela red card, I think, it was strange, because I thought that would bring us some relief, but as is usual, the team that has 10 players suddenly seems like they found how to play together, because Spurs kind of seemed to dominate from that point onwards, and that's when the nail biting really started for me. It just felt like we were not handling that change very well.
No, actually got better, hey Paul. After Lamela was sent off, that was the best period of the game for them. They were pressing harder. They were taking more shots on goal. I think up until that point, I think they had 1 shot on target as an example. So, but when he went off, suddenly it kind of necessitated that the rest of their team had to step up a bit. And I think that's why it was quite nerve-wracking towards the end, because up until that point, it was, handled all round.
Right. I think that point... go ahead, Merv, sorry.
It was almost like they sensed that we weren't sure if to go for the third or sit back with what we had. And I suppose the substitutions, bringing Willian on, probably didn't worry them. they could see that we weren't coming forward the way we were, and maybe it often happens. The team that goes down to 10 men feels they've got nothing to lose. The team with 11 men, we're ahead, we're at home. Do we put the knife in, or do we just sit this one out? And I think it only took 2 or 3 minutes. Thomas Partey, you could see, was getting tired. It only took 2 or 3 minutes of that for them to suddenly begin to push us more and more, and then kind of we had lost the rhythm, we had lost the impetus. Yeah,
well, that brings us to what for me the low light was the fact that when it counted most, it seemed like we didn't have the big match temperament that was required to see a game like this out. We started to soak up pressure, we made conservative substitutions, we saw probably the shit Willian again. As far as I was concerned, I don't think he did much to help us. From being very organized along the right-hand side, I felt like Pepe kind of, he brings a positional ambiguity. Like, is he pressing? Is he half tackling or not really tackling? He doesn't seem to commit like we had with the youngsters when they were on. They had more energy. They were in the face. Saka and ES and Smith Rowe, they seemed to be more engaged with what they were doing. And both Willian and Pepe, if I have one criticism of them, is that they just seem to sometimes vacillate, between not being, doing anything in particular. And you brought up that point, Merv, is we weren't attacking and we weren't defending. We were just kind of hovering, and they took advantage of that. Yeah, existing, and that's not a way to get through a North London derby. So that was my low light. Did you have anything, Olaf, that you felt was your low light in the game?
I think low light is a strong word in the context of what I'm about to say. Let me just call it disappointed. I think that the way that the opposition were today, maybe my expectation of a Partey was most probably slightly higher than what he delivered across the time that he was playing. I think that Xhaka again did quite well. I think the back four were quite solid, from an attacking point of view and from a defensive point of view. A couple of good defensive saves made by the likes of, or situations controlled by Luiz and Gabriel with their heads. But I think I was just disappointed, I think, with Partey. I think that today would have been a great day if he was on song, or even like he was in the last couple of games, even at that level. I think that it would have made a difference to the scoreline by at least one, if not maybe 2 goals, as an example. So not a low light, but just a bit disappointed, because I think that a player of his caliber could have really have stepped up well today, and would have validated why he is the type of player that we've brought on board.
Merv, do you have anything to add to that regarding your low lights? It doesn't have to necessarily be like like line the guy up and shoot him against the wall, but just like something disappointing,
I don't know how. I don't know a low light, but I suppose for me it was disappointing that we didn't, when they went down to 10, grab the game and really not ram the advantage home, but really push them back and go for the third and even another one. I understand that they didn't want to lose, they didn't want to let Spurs back in, but at the time you could see that Spurs didn't have a lot to offer, or didn't seem to have a lot to offer in that kind of middle of the second half. And the fact that we didn't just go to kind of dig the knife in, if you like. I like your expression, positional ambiguity. And I think that there was possibly a little bit of that. We just didn't seem to know what to do. When we got the ball, when they came forward and it broke down, we didn't really seem to know. We were passing it out to the left, and that's where a lot of the threat came from. But there was no, I suppose, direct kind of, let's go for the third, let's get another one and put this game to bed. So the game management, I suppose, seemed to be, well, we're ahead now. They've only got 10 men. Let's see what they got. I'm not saying that's what they said, but that's how it came across. We'll deal with whatever they've got.
We very seldom do that when we're on the front foot, and then there's something in the game, like a Man City would or whatever else. We don't ever really go for the jugular. I think there was 1 game or 2 games this season where we've done that a little bit. But generally speaking, when we're up even by just 1 goal, and then they are down to 10, and this is just a historical thing that I've seen this season, like you say, it's an expectation. Go, hey guys, let's put our foot down and really overwhelm them. at this particular juncture, and we just never do that.
I think Arteta mentioned it. Maybe it seems like he said almost exactly that. Like maybe 10 days ago, he said we need to develop the killer instinct and actually put the game to bed. And in that sense, the best form of defense really is attack. Put as big a goal difference as you can between between us, and then you can soak up pressure and all that stuff because you've got a buffer. At 2-1, you don't invite an attacking force like the Spunts have, to park off on the edge of your box and just keep trying. I mean, Merv, you mentioned game management, and it's been a thing that it's really upset me over the last couple of months, because this team just seems to not have the right game management. We make and it's not just at the end of the game, like in throw-ins, for instance, and not so much in this game, but in other games, it seems like our backs taking the throw-in seem to make the worst possible choice almost every single time that they make a throw-in. They pass it, back to somebody who's under pressure or to somebody who on their wrong foot. We lose possession, and I can't tell you. I mean, somebody will out there with stats at hand will tell us how many times that's turned to, either goals conceded or shots conceded. But Paul, the game management thing, where does that come from? How do you fix that? I mean, surely it seems obvious to us.
Paul, quick question then. Now, I'm in agreement with what you're saying, but this question is answered in a statement. If we're supposed to be on the front foot and the manager is saying that that's what he almost expects, you would almost expect the substitutions to reflect that. At that particular juncture, with Lamela off, why would you put on more defensive-minded people, take off a Lacazette as an example, and bring on an El Neni? And nothing against El Neni, but he's not the front foot kind of guy. So if the idea is to overwhelm, you've got to throw more manpower on that helps the overwhelming. And if the manager's not doing it, then maybe he's not practicing what he's preaching. And this is on to sound negative now, but all I'm saying is that absolutely we should be overwhelming. But the starting point is put on one or two, attacking players, because that alone at that particular juncture frightens the crap out of your opponents when they're down to 10.
Your response to that before we move on to another topic, because I have some theories about the substitutions, but basically what Olaf brought on, did you find them conservative? Do you think it goes against what Arteta's trying to instill, or was it a measure of the moment in the game?
I think it's a mixture of 1 and 3. I think they were quite conservative. It was about seeing the game out, and when you do that, when you start to make those kind of substitutions, we've seen it. We've all been watching football for a long time. Even if the opposition are behind, it just gives them a boost. It's kind of like they're just seeing the game out now. And I think it's an invitation. I mean, we won a North London derby, and overall,
I'll drink to that. Let's drink to that. Sorry, let's take a quick moment to celebrate, because it sounds like we're being very negative here, but we're not.
Yes.
Cheers to the Arsenal. North London is red. Thanks for reminding me.
I'd like to raise to all of the comments and everybody watching, because there's some classic,
very good comments
on the right-hand side, which I'm enjoying while you're talking.
Anyway, so may I finish your thoughts, because we
I know. What I was going to say is, if you look at the stats in terms of possession, in terms of chances created and everything, before the last 10 minutes, we were so far ahead. It was ridiculous. What was the first half? It was kind of like 10 goal attempts to their 1, albeit they scored from their 1.
Right.
And it's kind of, so it was a good performance. And had we just played the game out at 2-1 without inviting them onto us, we'd have been very comfortable and relaxed about it. Had a hard game on Thursday, had to fly back and stuff. But it came close. And I think the fear is it came close to something like Burnley last week, when we're on top, we're controlling the game. Suddenly we shoot ourselves in the foot, which we didn't do today, but nearly did. And then it's kind of, we then get nervous and we backpedal. And it could have happened today, but thankfully, maybe from this, they'll take some comfort from the fact they managed to see it out. And a vital interception from Gabriel, great save from Leno at the end. It's kind of it. Yeah,
match-winning save. What you're talking about is like 3 or 4 games this season. The Wolves, I think, Aston Villa, Burnley. Games where it seemed like we were dominating and we just couldn't convert, and we either lost or drew. Today, I started off the first 15 minutes going, will somebody please take a shot? Because we had all these chances and people were dummying and all that kind of stuff. We had these amazing crosses coming in, and then people would just delegate responsibility down the line, and then it would end up back in our half. But then we did start taking shots, and we hit the post, we hit the side, then I thought, shit, it's going to be one of those days, right, where we're just not going to be able to get it in the net, So that was difference, right? Was it only twice? It felt like it was like a third. I think there was a third one in the wasn't there a third one in the second half? It felt like there was. Anyway, but interesting, because we touched on it earlier and we haven't really spoken about the lineup, but obviously the main thing to talk about there was the late in dropping Aubameyang to the bench for disciplinary reasons. I've heard that was maybe because he arrived late to the match or something. Is that what you've heard? Or was any other theories going around? No, that's a theory.
That's all I've heard. I mean, there was some talk on some of the Twitter conversations this morning that I saw about maybe not starting him and going with Lacazette, who presses more and kind of to kind of push their defence back. I mean, I make my notes during the game, and after about 10 minutes, I wrote down Tottenham defence has a mistake in it.
Yes.
I just felt
Alderweireld looked shaky, didn't he?
Yeah. First 10, 15 minutes, I thought, we must be up for something here. So I think that there's clearly something has happened. And as the captain and the leader, we've got a lot of young players now in the squad who look up to him. And that almost takes me back, being old, to like the George Graham day when we had a lot of young players coming through, and some of the more established names who he had to begin to get rid of maybe weren't putting in a shift, and the young players were bailing them out. I'm not saying that's the case with Aubameyang at all. He's a fantastic striker. I'm just concerned attitude-wise. Apparently this isn't the first time he's done this, and it's concerning. But other than that,
I follow Dortmund, for example, as in Germany, and he as well didn't arrive on time for team talks, or he arrived late for.
Maybe his cars broke down. He has some really suspect cars, There's their Lamborghinis and the McLarens and stuff. Sometimes they just don't start. It's like they're anyway. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it.
Sorry. He also went for a tattoo this week on his hand. Just FYI. So he went.
What did he have?
He had a tattoo done to his hand.
Was that this week? I thought it was a while back in lockdown.
He went out of the bubble to have it done. Apparently, but I don't think.
Did he go all the way to Dubai? Because it didn't seem to help. Didn't seem to affect William.
How's that for consistency?
Yeah. So there was some criticism leveled obviously at Arteta. Shit, we're going to lose this, and if you do, it's all on you because you've done that. He won it, so that's a bullet dodged. We'll never know if dropping Aubameyang was a good or a bad thing. At the moment, it seemed like a good thing. I tweeted at the time that I thought that our best performances this season had, funnily enough, been without him. When Arteta stumbled on the Smith Rowe, Lacazette, Tierney, Saka, kind of the youngsters, with Lacazette rejuvenated, in that situation. And I thought, hey, that we can do this. I had more confidence at the beginning of the game than I did even when we were ahead. So that was good. Let me see. There's some comments that I picked up here that I thought were worth discussing. Okay, so this is an interesting one. Merv, Snorre Nicolaisen, I hope I said that right, says Odegaard has had more positive impact on the team than any other signing, loan or buy, done over the last 2 years. Do you have a theory on that?
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I saw that come up, and kind of I've been concentrating on our conversation. I was trying to back up my mind and think, who have we signed over the last couple of years?
Well, Pepe, Willian, Louis, you know.
I mean, I like Odegaard. I think he's very neat and tidy, very comfortable in possession. Treats the ball well, as you would expect, I guess, from somebody that's from 16, 17, has been seen as a future, European star, if not world star, has been in the Real Madrid family now for 2-3 seasons and been out on loan. But I mean, it's kind of, he's got that cultured background behind him, and you can see it. I would say more. I know that when Dani Ceballos came in at the beginning, we thought this was great, and then kind of it slipped. So then, finally, I've been since lockdown started, it all improved. I think Odegaard is a step up from that. And I think he's an exceptionally talented player. I don't think he on his own will be able to kind of change the fortune. So I think, going into next season, assuming there's a couple more acquisitions, a midfielder, Xhaka, Partey, Odegaard, I'm not sure will take us into the top 4. I know there's talk of someone like Grealish, for example, who might be better for this team, but I certainly think Odegaard, to me, is a player I would like us to keep, because he's just very comfortable on the ball, and he treats the ball well, and he never wastes a pass, and he's always looking to do something. You don't give up possession, and that I think comes from his, particularly in Spain, his background. You don't give up possession, you keep it. And I think, to be fair, that's the kind of way Arteta wants us to be, a little bit like Guardiola light. We don't have the De Bruynes, the Mahrezes, the Sterlings, but we do have players who like to keep the ball and like to treat the ball well. And so in that, yes, and I think he has the last 2 or 3 games where he's pretty much had the central slot to himself, the central attacking role. I think he's been very, very good.
Yeah, and I'll just corroborate what you're saying, Merv. I think he was man of the match for me today. I think that he brings an energy into the midfield, and he also presses incredibly well. So that is something for me from that midfield position, where when their opponents' midfield are trying to do something and he's in their face, or even in the face like he was towards the end in the last 15 minutes, in the face, almost like a lone striker up front sometimes, where he was in the face of Sanchez and Alderweireld, as an example. I think he had a great all-round performance, and also he seems to be happy where he is. He seems to be enjoying playing for the Arsenal, and I think that makes an absolute difference. So I think that he's enjoyed wherever he's played, and I've said on a previous pub, Gunnerstown pub, I've said I really hope he stays next season, like you do, Merv, and I think Paul does as well, because I think he's great, and he seems to be happy where he is, and that enthusiasm, and yes, he's here on loan for 6 months, but it feels slightly different. I mean, the guy's putting in the effort. He's not like, okay, I'm only doing this for 6 months, and when I play, I play. He actually puts in a decent shift. He gets excited when somebody else scores. He's happy for the team, and I think that it's a great example again to the more senior members of the squad, or those that are going to be gone by the summer.
Right, I agree with all of what you're saying about Odegaard. I had one criticism. There was a point. There seemed to be a point for quite a big batch of the match where he found himself in between the lines, and the ball was pinged to him, and he pinged it back instead of dropping his shoulder like I've seen him do, and turn that into defense. So I felt like a good portion of our transition, our transition moments were blocked by him because of a conservative, when somebody pings it forward to you and they pick a pass through the lines, which Arsenal doesn't do that much down the middle, when the guy who's got it isn't aware enough, like a Fabregas kind of, sixth sense awareness of, okay, I can turn and move. When they just ping it back or even further back, then it just feels very frustrating. But I've noticed that, and this is interesting, is that I've noticed between Odegaard and Xhaka and Partey, when they're playing, in the midfield together, is that role sometimes shifts, and where Xhaka might normally be the conservative one, like in games like this today, I felt like he was the one who was dropping a shoulder and trying to move forward. Partey did it Partey did it a few times in the beginning and got caught on it. There were a couple of times he didn't need to do it, and he did. And then he started becoming more conservative, and I think that might be a tactic from Arteta's point of view of like, don't be predictable, having his players play different roles, because then it just, if you go, oh, Xhaka's going to get the ball, he's just going to pass it backwards, then you don't press him, But if Xhaka suddenly turns and runs at you, and do you think that that's a tactic from Arteta? Is that something that's thought through, Olaf?
I think absolutely. I think and why? Exactly for the reason you've stated. I think it's the element of surprise. It's if you're prejudging a player and go, okay, this is the kind of thing that they does. Like an Aubameyang running down the left and then cutting in on the right and then moving it towards the edge of the box and then taking that in-swinging right shot on goal, as an example. I think that if you cannot predict how a defensive midfielder like a Partey and a Xhaka play, and they actually go on the front foot, it throws everything. The defenders are suddenly going, oh my God, what the hell's happening? Because he's cut right, they're running right through the midfield. The midfielders are going, oh my God, I better run back. And suddenly there's like chaos in the opponent's half. And you could see it a few times exactly today, because the Spuds didn't know, the players didn't know where to go, because suddenly there was one time I think where Xhaka went like ran all the way almost to the goal line, which was amazing. I mean, I thought it was fantastic, But then the moment he lost the ball, or the ball whatever happened there, he was back and he was standing. He ran. He didn't.
And I think Ødegaard covered for him too in that position.
Exactly. The three of them are covering for each other on an ongoing basis. So when one's forward, the other two are staying back. And I think that again, that's the element of surprise, and I think that the indecisiveness within your opponents to know what they're going to do is an advantage to you and your attacking and flair type players up front as well.
Right. So be unpredictable, kind of that. I think that element really helps. This Carl Scott just posted this comment while you were talking, saying that, in my opinion, is the best starting 11. The balance was good and creative. We kind of touched on this, but Merv, it seemed like that starting 11 knew what they had to do. I didn't feel any of that indecisiveness. There was, and talking about balance. Do you want to just talk through this comment, because I think probably most of us agree. I think it was good. I think that the team seemed to have confidence in what they were supposed to do, and there had been, I suppose, a trade had been made, because Aubameyang obviously for various reasons couldn't start. But when he runs, draws defenders, it maybe creates space for somebody else, or it creates angles for passes. But I felt that Saka, in particular, Saka and Smith Rowe in the kind of wide midfield slots, were playing very, very well. Emil Smith Rowe, I think, was tremendous today. The understanding he has with Tierney, one goes, the other stays back, and vice versa, playing the balls in for crosses. I think that it was a very balanced team. I mean, if you asked me a couple of weeks ago to write down Arsenal's strongest starting 11, I might not have put that team down. But I would think, I'm not just drunk on a Mother's Day couple of glasses of Prosecco at lunchtime and a North London derby win. But I felt it was balanced. I was thinking, during the first half and into the second half, particularly once we were 2-1 up, that this could be the starting 11. Obviously not for every game, but it seemed to be, having Smith Rowe and Ødegaard there, seemed to create, I suppose, they're able to create problems for opposing defences. Tierney clearly creates problems because he's everywhere and kind of coming forward, the energy he's got and the ability to go on and retrieve the ball in tight situations is tremendous. And I think that it's. I know we've tried Pepe on the left, Saka on the right, and then Willian on the left, and Saka or Pepe on the right. But I think, and whilst when Smith Rowe first came to the right, it was like he was being pushed wide to accommodate Ødegaard, because having signed him on loan, we needed to use him. But I think that gradually, after 3, 4, 5 games, it's working well. And I think the understanding is there. They seem to know where each other are going to go. And I felt it at various times. Ben
Olympiacos the other night, that there seemed to be an understanding. People didn't have to get the ball, look up and think, what do I do with it?
Right.
It's almost like, not quite the Invincibles, obviously, but it's almost intuitive. You know, if you pass it there, Emil Smith Rowe is going to be there. You know, if you put it through, you know, Thomas Partey's coming up. You trust him to win the ball and use it.
Right.
And that kind of trust and understanding we haven't seen, partly because the team keeps chopping and changing. But also this could be a settled 11, albeit I'm sure that the Aubameyang will play in the next game and a couple might get rested. Because we got West Ham next, haven't we, as a league game? Is it? Have I got that right?
After Olympiacos, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
As a league game. I just, before I pass that over to you, Olaf, I think there's something to be said for the fact that the players that started are those who've been the most consistent, and more importantly, Mike MacDonald, who's a regular on the pub and writes an amazing match review called Positive Needs and Hopes on Gunners Town. If you read anything on Gunners Town, make sure that you read those, because he's a coach. He has an incredible insight. He sees things that I don't see, and he sees the game from a completely other perspective. But he's always talked about Arsenal needing athletic midfielders, people with energy, people with awareness, and just athletic, comfortable with the ball at their feet, able to run. And that lineup had that. I felt that we literally ran circles around Spurs in the first, 15, 20, 30 minutes. In fact, we had their number. They looked static. And I think that was down to the fact that selection that didn't include Willian and Pepe and Aubameyang, who Aubameyang is not inconsistent. Well, he is. He's had quite a brown patch. He's been fairly inconsistent this season. Willian and Pepe are, criticized for being inconsistent. Those guys that were on the pitch today have generally always delivered 6 or 7 plus out of 10. Olaf, would you agree with that? Would you say that's?
I think that what the youngsters also bring, the Odegaards, the Smith Rowe, the Saka, and the Pepe and what some as well to a degree, they also bring a self-confidence that's been built up in them through performances and through the manager and whatever else. But there were large periods of the game today where we were actually doing one-touch passing, which I thought was also very interesting. It's not something that I'd seen us do before. And that split second and was especially with the likes of an Emil Smith Rowe and a Tierney and an Odegaard, for example, and just the ability of those youngsters doing one-touch pass the moment it comes to them suddenly creates so much more time, because then everybody else is getting into position for the next pass to come. So I think that absolutely everything that you said, Paul. Excuse me, now the daiquiri's like. Anyway,
do you want to take it? Do you want to take another sip? Cheers, everybody that's still watching.
And by the way, there was only one really bad thing about today. Imagine, we can say North London is red. Imagine the fact that we beat Spurs, but we're still in the same position on the table. That's maybe the only slightly disappointing part for me.
That is. Hey, so there was another quite a large incident that needs discussion, and that's the penalty. Merv, do you want to start us off on your thoughts of that? Because I've got some that may be different to other people's.
I'm going to go way back into my youth here. And when I was a youngster standing in the schoolboys, not even had made it round to the North Bank yet. There was a game, I think it was a League Cup replay. It was a defender, someone like John Roberts, who we used to have, the 70-71 double team had. And there was a game, I've forgotten who again. I want to say Crystal Palace. It might not have been. It was an evening game. And he kind of like kicked somebody. He fouled somebody after the ball had gone out. And it was a penalty. And I just couldn't understand how the ball wasn't in play. But of course, it was. I didn't have a full grasp of the rules, and it's like, no, it's a foul. It's a foul in the penalty area. I was told whether the ball was in play or not.
Right.
And I've got kind of that stuck with me. So my first reaction today was, it was after the ball was played, and then I thought, but hold on a minute, that shouldn't make any difference. And then I thought, well, with VAR and how it's been going for us recently, they might have rewritten these rules or something. I don't know. But it was clearly, well, to me, it was clearly a foul. I'm sure that Spurs fans, and I know a few, will say something different and say, he'd already, he'd had his shot. It was just, follow through. He couldn't stop himself, that kind of thing. But I think, it was a foul. It was a foul in the box, and it didn't matter whether he'd already had his shot, whether the ball had gone out of play. It was a foul. And that's my side.
Olaf?
My side, when watching it in real time.
Just your thoughts, as it happened, or in real time.
No, that's my answer. Watching it in real time, I said, "Oh yeah, hell, that's a pen." Then when they were doing the replays, when they were now going to go to VAR, I thought, "Oh God, no! This is because the ball was kicked away and he had no chance of actually getting there, and then he was fouled." I could just see one of those idiots at VAR go, "No, that wasn't." Although I do like Michael, the referee today. Of all the English referees, I rate him quite highly anyway. So, but I thought it would go 50-50 the moment it went to VAR. Seeing it in real time, yes, absolutely. Going to VAR, I thought, oh God, no, it could be overturned, and just when we actually needed it. When we then got it, I was actually more pleased than the first time when I watched it in real time and said, yes, it was a pen in my head. So. Yeah. But yes, I think it deserved to be a pen, if for no other reason than that kind of tackle. And it was quite high up on the leg and all of that kind of stuff in the penalty area, is a pen any given day of the week. So, or a foul in normal play any day of the week. Absolutely, it's a pen.
Okay, I thought maybe my take was going to be very dissimilar to both of yours, but actually it was the same kind of thing. Is that except I didn't have the luxury move of having witnessed John Roberts before he became a Supreme Court justice, doing whatever he did in that game. So, and I think what in my defense, what happened is whether it was the commentators or just the overall expectation is that the penalty would be awarded because somebody, impacted a shot on top, like tripped him, affected his shot, and that's normally why penalties are given. Like David Luiz, when he fucking, the other guy kicked him. Sorry, that's not a good example, but so normally it's that, and so when they showed it in VAR, I was like, well, Lacazette has quite obviously missed that shot completely, so it's not going to be a penalty. And so I think I tweeted, I was like, that's not a penalty. And then the penalty was given and the yellow card, and then the penalty. And I was fairly relieved. And then I thought, oh, of course it's a fucking penalty. It's like it's a foul after the guys, kicked it. The same as Harry Kane should have been sent off for fouling Gabriel after he cleared the ball. It's it should have been a penalty. And there's people on the comments, this guy, same guy, Carl Scott, said penalty all day. Anyone gets clattered anywhere else on the pitch after the ball is gone, free kick, unless it's Harry Kane, in which case you get away with it completely. And then Thomas says penalty. If it was awarded against us, I wouldn't be happy. But on the other side, if this happens outside penalty, it is a free kick all day long. Well, yeah, then it's got to be a penalty.
Yeah, and likely also outside of the penalty area, it would have been a yellow card over and above being a free kick.
Well, he did get the yellow, so yeah.
When he got the yellow, then I thought, oh, cool, that means we're going to get the penalty.
Yes, exactly. It was a bit of a spoiler, which is a huge relief for me. But Lacazette has been great at taking penalties. He's gone left a lot. And I think that's probably why Lloris went there. But that was a really confident penalty kick, and I'm glad it fell to him because I have a weak spot for Lacazette. I thought he was good actually today. I thought he ran, and Arteta was saying Laka. You could hear him saying Laka the whole game, and he did it. And going back to your point about the substitutions being a bit conservative, Olaf, I noticed that at the point that Elneny was brought on for Lacazette, which is a conservative substitution, he could have brought Martinelli or someone, but Lacazette was at the point where he just looked like he'd run his race. He couldn't go any further.
Talk about Martinelli for a second, quickly.
Sorry.
You're not disappointed that Martinelli's not playing?
He wasn't even on the bench.
Exactly.
I'm flabbergasted, to be honest, because
we don't actually talk about it because he's not on the in any of the games that we've been having the pub on. But I'm really disappointed that he's not playing, and I think that today, the way that the other team were playing today, I thought it would have been a brilliant day for him with that energy level and booming and running down the wings and coming inside. I thought it would have been an awesome game for him to play. I'm really quite disappointed with the fact that we're not seeing him.
Do you think El Neni's bullet of a goal against Olympiacos meant that Arteta was like, oh, he not only like can run 3 marathons during a game, El Neni, but he also has like he has that in his locker, that might put the fear of God into Lloris. Do you think that might have convinced him, like a couple of long shots from El Neni, to put keep Lloris honest? Merv, I don't get it. I don't know why Martinelli's not featured.
I don't. It's interesting because I suppose over the last 5 to 10 years, with the advent of social media and Twitter, when things like this are happening, there's always somebody on Twitter who kind of has got an inside take on it, whether they have or not. It seems to have inside. Oh, it's because of this, because of that. It's because his agent, is pushing for a rise, or because a bit like the
some conspiracy.
I know with Balogun and stuff. But there might well be something behind the scenes we don't know about. It might be that he wants to play in the centre, and Arteta doesn't want him to. He doesn't think his head's in the right place. It might be that he's coming back or has come back from a serious injury, and he came back and then got injured again, and then maybe just beefing him up for next season, when the chances are we probably will sell Lacazette and maybe a couple of others from the forward line. So the forward line next year might be quite different. But then if you were looking at him as a project for next season, you would want to give him game time, particularly a game like today where they're chasing the game down to 10 men. That would be the ideal time to bring him on. If he was there on the bench.
And you think of his impact in that Chelsea game, which was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously one of those players that seems to rise to the occasion. And his energy pressing from the front, best form of defense is attack. He can do a lot. I mean, I've seen him do a lot single-handedly, pressing 3 or 4 people in a row, just on his own. That's the kind of thing you want in the last 15 minutes of a derby where, you've got to find some way of keeping them at bay. And I think Martinelli's a bit like a sheepdog. He does that. Anyway, with Arteta, maybe he should have a whistle, like for the automatisms. Maybe Arteta needs one of those sheepdog whistles, like, boop, 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 and everyone just, you run left, you run right, you run right, Has anyone thought of that? Anyway, that you can call it the Hepka whistle, but I think a coach with you're not allowed whistles, sorry. Oh, yeah.
No. The referee is the only one with a whistle.
Okay, so maybe I've had too much gin. All right, sorry about that. For a moment there, I thought I was being brilliant. Anyway, I'd like to just go on to your man of the match. Do you have one? Do you think it was a team of the match? Do you think it was a team effort? Or is there anyone you'd like to single out? Olaf, why don't start with you?
Okay. I think the team as a whole did well. I think there were other than I think one or two disappointed. We discussed that earlier. But if I have to make a choice for man of the match, I'd most probably 1 for the goal and 2 just for for his positioning and a lot of the energy and stuff that he brought to bear. I'd most probably give it to Martin Odegaard for the day.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Lacazette. Sorry, I was just about to.
I mean, listen, because this is recorded for posterity until it gets trashed. But I would be very disappointed if Lacazette were to leave. I'm with you on that, Paul. So I like Lacazette a lot, and yes. So I won't give it to him though. I'll give it to Martin. But yes, just for the recording, in case something happens in the future, I'll be disappointed should he leave.
Okay, Merv, your man of the match.
Now, I would have gone for Odegaard as well, but I've done a few of these pods now, so I know that we tend to each choose somebody different. I part of me wants to say Gabriel because he stuck to his task. That header away when they were pressing at the end. I felt his presence was very strong today, and I was a bit concerned that Kane might, he's new this season to the Premier League. Kane might kind of bully him a bit, but it did. He kind of, I thought he did well. I think if I'm honest, I think I had a little bit of luck with Son being injured early because I think we would have been stretched a lot more on the counter attack had he been there. So I kind of, I would like to give it to Odegaard, but if I'm different, I would say Gabriel because I felt he was strong towards the end, although I know others will say to me Luis was. But I like Gabriel, his first season. I like the way he puts him in there. And the goal the other night, although that's not a reason to be man of the match today, which he nearly repeated. It was like he was trying to repeat it. I just felt he was strong when we needed him to be strong. And he wasn't fazed by clearly, Kane attempting to physically intimidate him towards the end.
Right. No, I can agree with that. It would be a cop out if I went for a team man of the match, but for the time that he was on the pitch, I thought Emile Smith Rowe, he was kind of the glue between like a lot of our most effective attacking moments. He was ready to run. He made countless runs that were ignored by our midfield. I mean, he made countless runs that were actually, met with good through balls, and he did fairly well. His end delivery could be a bit better, but I thought that he was amazing. And it's interesting because people were umming and ahhing at Lacazette missing some of the shots that, he did that weird dummy step over thing, and he missed, he poked one wide, and people were like, oh, if Aubameyang was on the pitch, he would have got those. I think Aubameyang would have been on the left wing where Smith Rowe was. I think Lacazette was probably always going to play through the middle. That's my theory. In which case, I thought having Smith Rowe on the pitch actually might have, in Arteta's credit, to his credit, it might have actually been a good move. It helped. So here's probably, you may not even want to go here, but for lack of a better word, who do you think was the weakest link tonight, Olaf?
Oh gosh, on the spot, weakest link. I'm going to keep this answer short. I don't think there was a weakest link. I think though that if Partey was playing to that again, if Partey was playing to his true potential or played a bit better like he has done for us before, I think we would have been on a slightly different level, and then I think that we would have been able to run riot a bit and actually score those additional goals that Merv was talking about earlier, quite easily, I think. So. Okay. I don't want to pinpoint anyone.
I'm sorry. It does seem like a bit of a tough thing to throw out to somebody because I don't know how else to phrase this. But like, there is some competition for places, to be honest, which is good. But
Mourinho is always the weakest link, so we can at least agree on that.
Who's the weakest link?
Jose Mourinho. He's always.
He's the special one. Yeah. Special. Merv, do you have any players that you felt disappointed in tonight, or that were maybe not up to the regular scratch, or even up to scratch, or No. I would really struggle. Partey didn't have a stronger game all round for the 90 minutes, or for however long he was on the pitch. As he has done previously. That could be because, again, he's still coming back to full match fitness, and he had a full game against Olympiacos. Cedric, I thought, did very well. Tierney was great. Luis didn't really make any mistake. I would be struggling. I saw some Twitter comment about Pepe, albeit his pass for the penalty, or for the shot that led to the penalty, was
very, very good. Maybe with Spurs getting a bit stretched, I was looking to him to do a little bit more to kind of keep them on their toes. But maybe he just wasn't getting the passes. I'm struggling to name one player.
Okay, it's interesting because you mentioned Cedric as a kind of a positive, and I felt like I even saw in his own reactions to some of the things that he'd done, I felt like he didn't have his best game. But the one thing I did, interestingly enough, is I found Leno's distribution tonight didn't help us much. I found that he cleared the ball, or even under no pressure, seemed to pass the ball completely back into danger areas and gave away possession. And that for me was, I was just going to say, Leno you didn't have the, I don't know if it's a problem with his distribution in general, or but I'm being a bit of an asshole saying that, to be honest. So let's move on. It's hard when you've won a North London derby finally, and North London is red, and let's just drink to that. North London is red, people.
Oh God, are we still drinking?
Yes. North London is red. It
seems a little bit of a low blow to pull out a weakest link on a team that's just beaten Jose Mourinho's Spunts. Anyway, so the last little section before we close out is this headlight. So just looking ahead, considering the Aubameyang situation and considering Europa League coming up and our position in the league, our chances of getting back into Europe, Merv, anything we should be looking out for? Or do you have if you shine your headlight on Arsenal's future, what do you see?
I'm going to repeat something I think I said a few weeks ago. I think to really overhaul the squad, to get the kind of squad Arteta needs, we need Champions League football. A, to have the money to go for players, and B, to have the football to attract them. And the only way we're going to do that is winning the Europa League. So I personally, and I know that I see the conversations on Twitter, I know that a lot of people don't agree with that. I think the Europa League is the most important. The fact that to win it, the chances are we are going to have to beat certainly 2 out of United, Spurs. There's a strong Spanish team in there, isn't it? And even Rangers, maybe. Either over 2 legs or in a final is risky. But I think for me, that's the most important thing. And also not to let silly points drop in the league. I think, they're still in with a shout, finishing 6th, I think. I think the top 4 is obviously beyond us. And I think it's about positioning ourselves for next season to be top 4. But I think to do that, we kind of need to go for the Europa League, and I hope we can. I think we've got a good enough starting kind of 13 or 14, as we can see, because Aubameyang didn't start today, but we still played well. Smith Rowe was missing for a few weeks. We got Ødegaard now as well, so I think that's that extra. Ceballos didn't get on the pitch today, so we've got that. I think we're still, if Xhaka, I know Xhaka has a lot of people that don't like him, but if Xhaka can't start, we start Elneny in that position, or maybe ultimately Partey will be in that position. So I think it kind of weakens us, but I think we're getting there. I think the focus has to be to not drop silly points in the league and make mistakes. And for me, it's to focus on the Europa League.
I love your headlights. What do you see when you shine it into the dark cave of the future?
Well, I'm as always, I'm not going to disagree with you and Merv at all. So I'm going, yes, cool. But the one thing that I do want to do is I want to do a short-term laser headlight,
okay,
which is the fact that Arteta coming out today saying Aubameyang wasn't starting because of a disciplinary issue. I think there's still going to be some potential fallout, which concerns me in the short term in relation to how the team engages with each other and their own confidence level, because it was almost for me It was not what I would expect of an Arsenal manager. It felt a
Doesn't
bit
seem
like,
classy, does it?
no, it felt like a Jose Mourinho throw the player under the bus, because he didn't specify what he did, but yet he clearly did. But he was very happy to specify he did something, and that's why he was there. And it wasn't just anybody. We're talking about the captain, who, and again, that's a separate discussion, which whether he should be the captain or not be the captain of the club from a leadership perspective, etc. But a player like that, and now our highest paid player and whatever else, I'm just concerned that in the next couple of days, the next week, or if this isn't handled properly, the little embers of what it could turn into be a raging fire, and then the fallout of that on play, performance, and outcomes. That is my little laser headlight.
That's an interesting take. It is. I mean, it's an important event, I think, and we've had these captain issues. A lot of people that I've seen on Twitter have said, let's just make Kieran Tierney captain already. He was an amazing captain for Celtic for so long. He's not the guy who's gonna play it by the book, and he's solid and he's young and he's a great leader. I think it would be a good call. But regarding Aubameyang, I must say, I saw him warm up and he looked a bit sad as like a reserve warm up, before the game. And you saw him sitting on the bench and stuff. And I'm just wondering, I think a lot rests on how Aubameyang takes it. He could take this in the wrong way. He might have even acknowledged that he deserved this, because he seemed to come out and just face the music, as it were, where I think it would have been easy for a player just to say, well, I've got a stomach bug, and just not appear. And I'm hoping, Olaf, that we avert any kind of Ozil-esque situation where we've got somebody earning, £300,000 a week and not playing for the Arsenal. That we've just got rid of one. We don't need another one. Let's see. Maybe he'll start for Olympiacos, and then we can just breathe a sigh of relief.
Yeah, I don't think it'll get to that point quite quickly. All I'm saying though is that it's very in context of what the manager's been talking about for months and months and months now, and the general feeling within the club and the stuff we see on the social media via the club and whatever. It just suddenly today, of all days, to even mention a disciplinary thing against your fiercest local rivals, as an example, I just thought it wasn't very well thought through, and there might be, as I said earlier, in the next week or two, maybe a little bit of a fallout and whatever else, and people within the club and within the team are maybe going, oh, okay, shit, we can. That's the kind of thing we do now. Okay, I didn't think we were that kind of that type. But anyway, be it as it may.
Right. Is an interesting comment here. Amir says Katie, he agrees with me. Katie deserves to be the captain, and he also says without no Alba, we did amazing, which is true. So yeah, we're at the end of this pubcast. You guys, I was going to ask about predictions for Olympiacos, but I'm hoping that we did enough in the first leg to see us through. Do you think we will, Merv?
Yes, fully expect it.
How about you, Olaf?
It would be a failure of gargantuan proportion.
Gargantuan failure. Oh my goodness. Well, no, you just said it.
And last season was bad enough.
Oh yeah, I mean, goodness.
Correct. And the demons can only visit us so often within the same kind of context. So I'm going for the yes. And I don't actually, you know what? I don't give a dog's poop if we scrape through and actually get to the quarters. But I think that the way that they are as a team, and with their manager being so much pressure, etc., like they were on their home turf, I think we could easily beat them by a goal or two. Although I think that we should try and beat them by a lot more and send out a message to all the other guys that are then also going to go through to the quarterfinals thereafter to be very wary and so on of us. But yes, I think absolutely we'll get through. If not, then there'll be a lot of drinking that's going to be happening in this household thereafter.
Yeah. How do you say deja vu in Greek? Because if we don't, picture the scene. Okay, we're 3-1 up, and they're 3-1 up at home, and Aubameyang has a sitter in front of an open goal, kind of like he did last season, and he misses it. Now that would turn this whole tale on its sorry little head, wouldn't it? You know, Aubameyang would go from hero to zero in a heartbeat. Anyway, hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Shouldn't even be talking about it. Anyway, guys, it's been over an hour now. It's been a wonderful chat. It's been so nice to have you in the pub, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
I did indeed. Thank you for hosting me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having you guys. And North London is red. We beat the Spunts and we beat Mourinho. And Arteta doesn't have that horrible record to his name. Come on, you Gunners.
Yes.
Okay. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, everyone.